sometimes life doesn't go the way the brochure promised. You graduate high school, maybe skip college, maybe try it and leave, and suddenly you feel like you've already missed the train. But here's the thing. Some of the wealthiest, most fulfilled people I know never stepped foot in a university lecture hall. They built their careers like you build a house, one brick at a time, slowly, quietly, and eventually unshakable. And by the end of this video, you'll know 12 real, high-paying paths that don't require a degree, just courage, skill, and consistency. My name is Tony, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money, psychology, and emotion all collide, and how understanding that collision can change your life. If you're tired of vague financial advice and ready to see things differently, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if this video opens your eyes. Now, here's something that will blow your mind. Sometimes, life gives you this quiet moment where you realize the story you were handed growing up doesn't match the world you're standing in anymore. And chapter 1 starts right there in that uncomfortable space between what you were told success should look like and what success actually is. Because for decades, we were taught a simple equation. Degree equals job equals money equals stability. But the truth? It hasn't worked like that for a long time. Here's the thing. Wealth has never truly come from a diploma. It comes from value, the kind you create, the problems you solve, the responsibility you can handle, and the skill set you can bring into a room. A degree can help with those things, sure, but it isn't the source of them. Not even close. Think about that for a second. Some of the highest paid people in almost every industry got there because they became irreplaceably good at something, not because they spent 4 years sitting in lecture halls listening to someone talk about it. In fact, a recent hiring survey found that over 72% of employers now prioritize skills over degrees when choosing candidates, not because college is bad, but because it's slow. The world changes faster than institutions can update their syllabus. And yet, for so many people, there's still this quiet, lingering shame. This belief that I can't earn more because I didn't go to college, or I'm stuck because I don't have the credentials. It's like carrying around a backpack full of invisible weight expectations you never agreed to, but somehow still feel responsible for. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine trying to build a house, but every time you pick up a hammer, a voice in your mind whispers, "You shouldn't be doing this. You're not qualified." Even if you have the tools, even if you have the talent, the house never gets built, not because you can't, but because you believe you shouldn't. That's what the degree narrative did to millions of people. It didn't just shape career choices, it shaped identity. But here's the good news and the reframe that matters. You are not paid for your degree. You are paid for your ability to create value. And value can be learned, practiced, sharpened, and monetized without ever stepping foot inside a university. For some people, it looks like learning a trade. For others, it looks like mastering sales, tech skills, logistics, or digital marketing. And for many, it starts with simply letting go of the belief that a missing diploma equals a missing future. Because it doesn't. In fact, what you think is a disadvantage might actually be your advantage. You're flexible, you're adaptable, you're hungry, and those qualities build wealth faster than any framed certificate. So as we move deeper into this video, I want you to loosen your grip on the story you were told and open your hands to the story you can build. Because once you understand that the ceiling above you is imaginary, the real opportunities, the ones that don't require a degree, start to become visible. You ever notice how hard it is to dream when your brain is just trying to survive? Like, you're not thinking about opportunity, you're thinking about rent. You're not thinking about career evolution, you're thinking, I just need this next paycheck to land on time. That's where chapter 2 begins, in that tight, heavy space where money feels less like a tool and more like a threat. See, most people don't stay in low-paying or unfulfilling jobs because they lack ambition. They stay because they're operating from survival mode, a psychological state where your brain literally shuts down long-term planning so it can focus on immediate danger. And here's the thing, the danger doesn't have to be real. It just has to feel real. A late bill, a job you hate but can't imagine leaving, a skill you wish you had but feel embarrassed to learn. All of these activate the same ancient survival software in your brain, the one designed to protect you from tigers, not from LinkedIn job postings. Think about that for a moment. When your brain believes you're unsafe financially, emotionally, or socially, it prioritizes certainty over opportunity. It clings to stability, even if that stability is slowly draining your potential. This is why so many people talk themselves out of pursuing higher paying, degree-free careers. Not because the jobs aren't real, not because the path is too hard, but because survival mode whispers, don't risk it, don't move, don't try. You can't afford to fail. And this is where job anxiety forms quietly, gradually, until it becomes the invisible fence around your life. Here's a stat that blew my mind when I first read it. Over 60% of workers stay in jobs they dislike because they fear financial instability more than they desire career growth. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, simply because fear feels safer than possibility. But here's the deeper truth, and it's uncomfortable. Survival mode tricks your brain into believing that the situation you're in, no matter how draining, is the best you can get. It convinces you that learning a new skill will take too long, that changing careers is too risky, that earning more money is for other people. And little by little, that fear becomes your identity. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine standing in a room with the lights off. You can't see anything, so you assume the room ends where your hands can reach. But the truth is, the room is huge. You're just afraid to walk in the dark long enough to find the walls. That's survival mode. It shrinks your world. But here's the hopeful part. The moment you understand that fear is a signal, not a stop sign, your choices expand. Fear means you are approaching the edge of your comfort zone. It means you're stepping outside the predictable. And yes, it feels unsafe, but growth always feels unsafe before it feels empowering. Most degree-free, high-paying career paths don't fail because people are incapable. They fail because people stay mentally stuck long before they take any physical step. But once you can name the trap, you can escape it. And that's what this chapter is all about, recognizing that you're not lazy, behind, unqualified, or untalented. You're just human. And humans default to safety when life feels uncertain. The good news is, safety isn't the same as stagnation. You can protect yourself and pursue a better path. You can start small. You can build while you stabilize. You can learn the skills that lead to high-paying jobs even if you start from zero. Because the truth is, survival mode is not your personality. It's a temporary state. And once we shift out of it, an entirely new world of possibilities opens up, especially in today's job market, where skills matter more than degrees. There's this moment, usually after the survival mode fog starts to lift, where you look around and realize the world doesn't work the way you were taught. Jobs aren't handed out the way they used to be. People aren't getting paid for the reasons they used to. And quietly, almost without anyone announcing it, the economy shifted from valuing credentials to valuing capability. That's where Chapter 3 begins. See, for decades, the formula was simple. Go to college, get a degree, get hired, slowly climb. But somewhere around the rise of the internet, remote work, automation, and startup culture, companies began realizing something important. A piece of paper can't guarantee results. A diploma can't solve problems. And a resume can't replace competence. Think about that for a second. If you're a business owner deciding who to hire, the question isn't who studied this. It's who can do this today with minimal hand-holding. That's why employers now say things like, we prefer someone who's done the work before, or show me a portfolio, or we hire for skill, not degrees. Because the market rewards performance, not pedigree. Let me give you a real example. A friend of mine became a UX designer in under a year. No degree, no formal training, just relentless practice, community feedback, and small freelance projects. Today, he makes more than most people with 6-year tech degrees. Not because he's special, but because he learned something powerful. In the new economy, speed of learning beats years of schooling. Here's a data point that might surprise you. Google, Apple, IBM, Tesla, Netflix, and Meta have all removed degree requirements for most roles. Why? Because they're desperate for people who can think, solve, adapt, and execute, not just memorize. And here's the deeper emotional truth behind that shift. School teaches you to fear being wrong. But the new economy rewards people who experiment, iterate, learn fast, and fail forward. It's like switching from taking a test with one correct answer to building a Lego set where you can redesign the entire structure anytime you want. That's why degree-free paths are becoming more powerful, not less. Let's break down the industries where skills matter dramatically more than schooling. Tech, sales, UX design, data analysis, QA testing, cybersecurity. Most roles value practical skill more than theory. Trades. Electricians, HVAC techs, welders, plumbers, these are high-income, high-demand roles with apprenticeship-style learning. Digital work. Copywriting, marketing, editing, video production, virtual assistants, entirely skill-based. Logistics and operations. Truck driving, dispatching, warehouse coordination, project management. Sales, high-ticket sales, SaaS sales, real estate industries where your soft skills outweigh any diploma. And here's what all of these careers have in common. You don't get hired because of the school you went to. You get hired because you prove you can solve the company's pain. Let me give you a metaphor to anchor this. Imagine two candidates. One has a degree. One has a portfolio. The degree candidate says, "I learned about this." The portfolio candidate says, "I can show you 5 examples of me doing this." The employer doesn't choose the theory. They choose the proof. And that's the economy you're living in now, an economy where skill is currency, where self-taught is respected, where your earning potential isn't controlled by gatekeepers, but by the speed at which you can build competence. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Because once you understand how much leverage skills give you, especially without a degree, the next logical question is, okay, so what skills actually lead to high-paying jobs? There's a moment right after you realize that skills matter more than school, where a new question forms in your mind. Okay, so what can I actually do? What jobs pay well without a degree? And the beautiful thing is, there isn't just one answer. There are dozens. The world is quietly full of high-income paths that value ability over academics, consistency over credentials, and growth over grades. Chapter 4 is where those paths finally become visible. So let's walk through 12 real, practical, high-paying careers you can start without a 4-year degree, and more importantly, what each one truly offers. 1. Software sales, SDR, AE. If you can communicate clearly, handle rejection without taking it personally, and stay consistent, you can earn $70K, $200K plus in tech sales. No degree, no coding, just emotional resilience, curiosity, and the ability to help people understand why a product matters. 2. Copywriting. Words are a superpower, especially online. Good copywriters earn $60K, $150K plus, and top-tier freelancers make even more. All you need is practice, psychology, and the ability to write like a human, not a textbook. 3. Digital marketing. From running ads to managing social media, companies desperately need people who understand attention and storytelling. Entry roles start around $50K, but specialists easily reach $120K, $180K without a degree. 4. UX, UI design. If you're visually oriented and love solving user problems, UX pays incredibly well. Many designers start with boot camps or self-study and reach $90K, $160K roles. 5. Data analyst. Numbers don't need a diploma to make sense. They need a curious mind. With tools like SQL, Tableau, and Python, analysts commonly earn $70K, $130K. 6. Electrician. In trades, the earning potential is quietly enormous. Electricians often start as apprentices and work their way into $80K, $150K incomes, sometimes more with overtime or private contracting. 7. HVAC technician. Heating and cooling systems may not sound glamorous, but the pay is. HVAC techs routinely earn $60K, $140K, with job security that's basically recession-proof. 8. Real estate agent. If you're social, patient, and strategic, real estate can become a six-figure engine. Yes, income fluctuates, but many agents make $80K, $250K plus with no degree. 9. Truck driving CDL. Long hours, yes, but extremely strong pay. Truck drivers earn $60K, $120K, and specialized haulers can go far beyond that. 10. Notary signing agent, a surprisingly powerful side career. With certification and consistency, NSAs earn $75K, $150K, facilitating loan signings. Flexible, scalable, degree not required. 11. High ticket closer. If you can build trust and communicate value over the phone, this can become a $100K, $300K path. No chasing, no cold calls, just understanding human behavior. 12. Project coordinator, project manager. Start with organization. Build communication. Grow into leadership. Project managers commonly earn $90K, $160K, and many begin without a degree by proving reliability and execution. Now, here's the deeper message beneath all 12 careers. These jobs aren't valuable because they skip college. They're valuable because they reward growth, not gatekeeping. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need a diploma to become someone whose work has impact and whose income reflects that impact. And if this list made something spark inside you, a curiosity, a possibility, a sense of, wait, I could actually do that, then the next chapter is for you. Because once the career paths are clear, the real battle begins internally. There's a moment, and almost everyone who chooses a non-traditional path goes through it, where you look around and think, everyone else is ahead of me. Everyone my age is already established. I'm starting too late. And that feeling, that quiet, heavy shame, is one of the biggest reasons people never step into the jobs or income they're fully capable of earning. Chapter 5 is where we breathe into that feeling instead of running from it, because here's the truth. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not disqualified. You're comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10, and your brain is treating the difference like failure. Let's slow that down for a second. Shame has a way of shrinking your future. It turns every step forward into proof that you should have taken that step years ago. It convinces you that progress is pointless because other people already did it better. But here's the thing. Shame is not a signal that you're failing, it's a signal that you're growing. You only feel behind when you start paying attention to where you want to go. Before that, you were just surviving. You can't be behind in a race you weren't even running yet. Let me give you a metaphor to anchor this. Imagine two people planting a tree. One plants it at 18. One plants it at 35. In 10 years, both trees will be strong, rooted, and giving shade. The only difference is the story they tell themselves while it grows. The tree doesn't care when you planted it. Your future won't either. Here's something else people rarely talk about. When you switch careers, learn a new skill, or start a degree-free path, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience, from maturity, from emotional intelligence, and those things compound faster than you think. Research even shows that people who pivot later in life often advance quicker because they bring clarity, discipline, and a stronger sense of purpose. You're not behind. You're building from a different angle. But to step forward, you have to release the idea that success has a deadline. It doesn't. Your timeline is yours. Your growth curve is yours. Your story is yours. And when you finally let go of the belief that you missed your chance, you create space for a new identity, someone who is capable, someone who is in motion, someone who is not defined by the age they started, but by the life they're building. There's a shift that happens once you stop believing you're behind. Your mind goes from, why even try, to, okay, what's my next move? And that shift, subtle, quiet, almost fragile at first, is the exact moment your earning potential begins to compound. Chapter 6 is where we talk about skill stacking, the strategy the modern workforce is built on. See, in the old economy, you were expected to pick one identity and stay in it forever. Teacher, mechanic, nurse, engineer. But in the new economy, the people who thrive are the ones who build layers. One skill becomes the foundation for a second skill. A second skill unlocks a third, and eventually, your earning power comes not from what you do, but from the unique combination only you possess. Here's a simple way to think about it. A single skill is like a single tool. Useful, but limited. A stack of skills? That's a toolbox, and people pay a premium for someone who can solve multiple problems without needing hand-holding. Let me give you an example. You start in tech sales. You learn communication, persuasion, follow-up, and relationship building. Then you add CRM skills. Now you can optimize pipelines and workflows. Add basic analytics, and suddenly you can interpret data, identify bottlenecks, and increase revenue. That combination, that's a six-figure engine, no degree required. Or maybe you begin as a digital marketer. Add copywriting, add analytics, add content creation. Suddenly, you're not competing with beginners, you're competing with agencies. Skill stacking isn't about being extraordinary. It's about being strategically valuable. And here's where the wealth part comes in. Once your skills compound, something shifts from, I need a job, to, I create my own leverage. Leverage looks like higher paying roles, remote opportunities, freelance income on the side, promotions that come faster, clients seeking you day, the ability to walk away from jobs that don't value you. When you have multiple skills, you're no longer trapped by a single path. You're operating from abundance, not fear. And that's the core of skill stacking. It gives you options. It gives you leverage. It gives you freedom. Which brings us to the final chapter, the part that ties everything together. Because once you understand skills, opportunity, and emotional freedom, the real transformation is internal. At some point in this journey, usually right after your confidence begins to return and the fog of I'm behind finally lifts, something deeper begins to unfold. You stop asking, what job should I get? And you start asking, who am I becoming? That's the core of Chapter 7, because money changes your lifestyle. But identity changes your life. Here's the thing most people never realize. Your income is a lagging indicator of your identity. It rises when you rise. It grows when you grow. It expands when you stop seeing yourself as someone who's catching up and start seeing yourself as someone who is building forward. This is the moment where the story flips. You're no longer the person who didn't go to college. You're no longer the person who started late. You're no longer the person who takes what life gives. You're the person who creates options. Identity is like a thermostat. If you believe you're meant for low-paying jobs, you'll settle for them. If you believe you can build skills, create value, and earn more, your actions naturally align with that future. And it doesn't happen overnight. Identity shifts are slow, subtle, quiet, like adjusting a lens until the world finally comes into focus. But one day, you catch yourself thinking differently, choosing differently, expecting differently, and that's the moment you realize you're not the same person you were when this video started. You're someone who sees opportunity instead of obstacles. You're someone who recognizes your potential instead of your limitations. You're someone who isn't waiting for permission because you finally understand that permission was never required. And that's the real win here. Not the income, not the job titles, the identity, the belief that your life is buildable and that you are capable of building it. So, as we close this journey, I'll leave you with a simple question. Which part of this story feels like yours? And more importantly, who are you becoming next?